All right, let's talk about something we've all been through. You decide to learn something new, something really hard, like a new language, or coding, or maybe a musical instrument. And at some point, you just hit a wall, right? It feels like the harder you work, the dumber you get. Well, what if I told you that feeling of frustration is actually a sign that something amazing is happening inside your brain?
I'm serious. Think about it. You start that new class, you're all fired up, and then a few weeks in, you feel more lost than when you started. You start asking yourself, you know what, maybe I'm just not smart enough for this. Well, we're about to completely flip that idea on its head. And look, let's just get this out of the way. The struggle is absolutely real, and it's totally normal. That feeling isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. The path to really learning something deeply isn't a nice, smooth curve upwards. Oh no. It's messy, it's confusing, and honestly, it can be exhausting. So if you've ever felt that way, you are in very, very good company.
Does this list ring a bell? I mean, that feeling of just complete mental burnout after only an hour of practice? Or the sheer frustration when you can't grasp something that seemed so simple yesterday? And then there's that little voice in your head that starts to whisper, "Are you sure you can do this?" Yeah, these feelings are the classic signs of being in the messy middle of learning.
Now this is the big question. We're taught to see these feelings, frustration, confusion, as big red stop signs. We think they mean we're failing or we should just give up. But what if we've been reading the map all wrong? What if they're not stop signs at all? What if they're actually milestones, pointing you toward a massive breakthrough?
So let's dive into some of these totally counterintuitive clues that you're getting smarter. Because these aren't problems that you need to fix. They are literally the growing pains of a brain that's rewiring itself to become stronger.
Okay, sign number one, feeling totally wiped out after a study session. That is not weakness. That's the feeling of a good workout. Your brain is an organ and it burns a ton of energy when it's building new connections. That exhaustion you feel? That's the physical proof that construction is underway up there.
Ever find yourself deep in learning something new and you suddenly forget a simple word? Or you, I don't know, put your car keys in the refrigerator? It's a real thing. And it happens because your brain is dedicating so much of its power, so much of its bandwidth to the new skill. It's kind of like when you run a huge new program on your computer and all the other background apps slow down for a minute. Those silly mistakes are just a sign your brain has its priorities straight.
Oof, this one is maybe the toughest of all. You were doing great, making progress, and then, bam, you hit a wall. Or worse, you feel like you're actually getting worse. Now, what's so fascinating is that this feeling very often comes right before a huge leap forward. It's a plateau, sure, but it's a productive one. It's where your brain is quietly organizing all the new information before it takes you to the next level. So we've seen these weird signs, right? The exhaustion, the silly mistakes, the feeling of going backwards. But what's actually happening in our biology? What's going on under the hood that explains why the struggle and real growth are basically two sides of the exact same coin?
Well, the answer lies in this absolutely incredible, almost magical property that our brains have. It is the engine behind all learning, all growth, all adaptation, and it's happening inside your head at this very moment.
And here it is. This is the hero of our story, neuroplasticity. See, your brain isn't some fixed piece of hardware. It's more like a living, dynamic city map with roads that can be built, changed, and adapted. Every single time you challenge yourself to learn something new, you are physically, literally changing the structure of your brain. I love this analogy because it explains it perfectly. Thinking about something you already know really well. That's like cruising down a wide-open, perfectly paved superhighway. It's fast, it's easy, it's effortless. But learning a brand new, complex skill, that's like taking a machete and hacking a new path through a dense, tangled jungle. It's going to be slow, it's going to be awkward, and it is going to take a ton of energy. And this is the most important takeaway of all. That feeling of hacking through the jungle, that confusion, that exhaustion, that frustration, that is the feeling of neuroplasticity in action. That is what it feels like when your brain is building a brand new road. The struggle isn't getting in the way of learning. The struggle is the learning. So what do we do with this information? How can this actually change our lives? Well, it all comes down to shifting our mindset. It's time to stop fighting the process, stop seeing it as a bad thing, and instead learn to embrace the beautiful brain-building mess. I really want you to let this one sink in. That friction, it's not a wall stopping you. It's the resistance that's making you stronger, like lifting a weight. The difficulty isn't a bug in the system. It's the most important feature. So the next time you're in the thick of it, trying to learn something hard, I want you to try this. When you feel that frustration bubbling up, say to yourself, this is my brain rewiring itself. When you feel that mental exhaustion, think, okay, this is the feeling of construction. And most of all, just trust the process. Trust that the messy, difficult part isn't just necessary, it's where all the magic happens.
So let's just say it one more time to make sure it sticks. All those feelings you used to think of as signs of failure, they are actually the clearest, most reliable signals that you are doing deep, meaningful work. You are not getting dumber. You are in the active process of getting smarter.
And that really brings us to the most exciting part. Knowing that the struggle is actually the sound of success, the world of new skills just opens up. That one thing you've always wanted to learn but thought was too hard, the thing you thought you weren't smart enough for, maybe, just maybe, it's time to give it another shot. Because now you know that when it starts to feel hard, that's just a sign that you're about to win.